With the start of the new year, I always think it's a great time to look at and review the basics when it comes to your finances. Today we're going to cover 4 things you can do to set yourself off right for 2022. The first thing I'd recommend is reviewing your budget. Now, you may not have kept a detailed expense by expense report, but you can look over your year's worth of spending to see where it went in major categories, such as going out to eat, maybe travel, spending on the car, and compare if that's where you want your funds to go. And then kind of make a plan for the upcoming year. Maybe limiting some areas. For me, I could limit going out to eat and expand some areas that you enjoy more. For example, I enjoy spending on things that are conveniences, those things that make my life a little bit easier, and so spending in that area. So a budget's not always necessarily a line by line itemized transaction list, so that absolutely can be a good thing. Sometimes it's just looking at where your money went and thinking about how you want it to go in the future. The second thing to do is to review your emergency fund. Emergency funds are essential. Oftentimes it's easy to get too little cash on hand, and it's really the cash on hand, easy access cash, that saves you in a tough time. If you lose a job or if you have a household emergency. Recently, we were going along and had a flat tire, and in the means we had to replace all 4 tires. We had cash on hand, be able to get those refilled, and then we worked on refilling our emergency fund bucket. So reviewing your emergency fund, and for dual income earners, we recommend a minimum of 6 months worth of necessary expenses. And for single income earners, we recommend a minimum of 12 months. Because most things you can kind of work through and resolve in a series of 12 months. We can look back through COVID and kind of some recent experience that kind of gives us a feel of what some of those expenses might be. The third thing to do is to review your savings. How much are you saving and where? Is it going into a 401k? Is it going into an IRA? Or is it just going into a non-qualified account, such as an individual or a taxable account? Reviewing these areas and making sure you're maximizing any opportunity that you have. Oftentimes contribution limits change, and if you haven't adjusted, there may be more room to save a little bit more. We especially recommend, at a minimum, if you have a company match through a 401k, getting that company match. It's basically free money. It's a pay raise if you get to it. So at a minimum, make sure you're taking advantage of that. But also look across all areas, because it might be time, depending on your tax situation, to make some Roth contributions, or maybe switch from a Roth 401k to a traditional 401k. Evaluating those decisions will allow you to be better prepared for next year. So step number 3, review your savings rates and make sure you're getting savings into the right areas. The fourth thing to do would be to look at your upcoming tax liability. Obviously, at this point, we're still filing last year's taxes, but it's worth starting to look ahead for next year about some things that you can do to be ready for next year's taxes. One of the most common things we see is over withholding, meaning too much of a deduction is taken out of your paycheck, which results in a large refund when you file your taxes. Now, this will be okay if that's what you choose to do, but just being aware that you do have some control over how much withholding you have and is taken out of your paycheck. And so it's always great to review that when you get your taxes done to get ready for next year. It also may open up opportunities of savings or doing things such as a Roth conversion if you have room in your tax bracket. It's always talk with your tax professional, but there are so many considerations you can do at the start of the year to get ready for the coming year to maximize any tax advantage opportunities you have. Getting your finances in order early in the year will pay dividends through the remainder of the year. Being deliberate about where you're spending your money, being deliberate about where you're saving, being deliberate about what taxes you're going to pay, set you up to make those decisions throughout the whole year. It also is a great time to review your overall financial plan and make sure things are in order, so that your short-term goals aren't overtaking your long-term goals and your long-term goals aren't overtaking your short-term goals. There's definitely a balance between the two. If you have any particular questions about your situation, reach out to me, Garrett Smith, at garrett@ascendinvestment.com. Thank you.